Hey team, you're probably feeling a little bit stiff after a couple of weeks off the mats, so I thought I'd do a little video on some stretching. This is a particular sort of stretching called PNF Stretching. It stands for Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. This is a stretch that tricks your body's natural defense mechanism to basically allow you to stretch further. So you can do this with most stretches. You should only do this type of stretching probably a couple of times a week, and you can do this independently outside of training, or you can do this after training, but I wouldn't recommend doing this before a session. You should generally look at dynamic stretching before you actually do any sort of physical activity. So let's have a look at a couple of common stretches, and then you can see if you can apply this to other areas of your stretching. The first stretch is a pretty common stretch. We're going to look at stretching our adductors. So I'm just going to grab around my ankles and I'm going to stretch myself down. So hold the stretch for about 10 seconds. So the idea behind this is to activate that Golgi Tendon Organ to relax the muscle so you can stretch down a bit further. So a good way to do this is to do an isometric contraction or push against something. So in this case we're going to push against my elbows. I'm going to hold this for 6 seconds and then I'm going to relax into the stretch, breathe and push my legs down a little bit further. And you can repeat this 2 to 3 times to get a better stretch. So I'm going to ease into the stretch and I'm going to push back for 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to relax down further into the stretch and then hold that for a further 10 seconds. And then you can repeat that process 2 or 3 times to try to get a better stretch into those muscles. So that's for your adductors. So the second stretch we're going to do is for our hamstrings, a little bit into our glute and sciatic nerve. So you can actually take your belt and wrap it into your foot. The other leg's going to go flat onto the ground, and you're going to try to keep your hips flat on the ground as well. So from here, you're just going to go into a stretch where you're just feeling some tightness in your leg. The same thing, hold this for about 10 seconds, then we're going to push back against the belt, so we're going to push down and try to get our leg onto the ground, but we're going to keep our legs static with the belt. So we'll go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then relax, and you'll be able to see that you get quite a lot more stretch once you've done this type of stretching. Once again, you can repeat this 2 or 3 times. This is working mainly your hamstring, a little bit of your sciatic nerve, and some of your glute as well. So the next stretch you can do is to stretch your glute or your piriformis. So we're going to cross our legs over, and I'm going to reach through and grab hold of my knee. Okay, same thing, we're going to stretch into this just so it's got a little bit of tightness. Okay, we'll hold that for about 10 seconds and then we push back against our leg. So I'm going to push with this leg, and I'm going to hold this leg straight so that I can get that isometric contraction. So we push, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull your leg back into you a little bit further, and you should see some improvement by getting your toe closer to your head. Once again, repeat this 2 or 3 times, and that's the idea behind this PNF stretching, just basically to an isometric contraction against the stretch. Let your muscle spindles relax a little bit and then stretch down further. Try to do that a couple of times a week, no more, in conjunction with your other normal stretching and your active stretching as well. So that's just a few examples of a PNF stretch. You can take that into some other of your stretches, for example, your triceps, maybe a little bit into your neck, push back against your head and then stretch down a little bit further. Just a side note, please be very careful if you're stretching your neck not to overstretch it. But have a practice with a few other stretches. There's also heaps of good information on YouTube around PNF stretching, what's good and what's bad, and whether it's right for you. So check it out and keep training, keep supple.